Scientists predict that Africa is slowly splitting into two, and a brand new ocean could eventually form in the process. A major geological shift is happening in East Africa, where a massive rift several miles long has opened. Many believe this is a sign that the continent is gradually breaking apart. The East African rift is expanding at a rate of about 2.5 centimeters, 1 inch per year. While that may seem small, over millions of years, it could be enough to split the continent into two separate landmasses. Deep beneath East Africa, this powerful geological process is quietly reshaping the planet. In 2005, a series of earthquakes in Ethiopia's Afar Depression, followed by a volcanic eruption, marked the beginning of something extraordinary, the possible birth of a new ocean. During just 7 days in September 2005, over 120 earthquakes shook the region, a dramatic reminder of the immense forces at work beneath the Earth's surface. This ongoing transformation is not only a fascinating scientific discovery, but also a powerful example of how the Earth is constantly changing. Some even see a connection between this event and biblical prophecies. Regardless of interpretation, this geological phenomenon is a breathtaking testament to the dynamic nature of our planet. The Earth shook violently, not just a small tremor but a powerful sign that the ground was stretching and splitting. Something big was happening. On September 26th, the DBO volcano erupted. While it didn't make global headlines like some famous eruptions, its impact was massive. Lava burst through the surface, cracks opened in the ground, and ash filled the sky. The eruption caused widespread destruction, forcing thousands of people to flee their homes. What once felt like solid land had suddenly become unstable and dangerous. For scientists, the 2005 eruption in Afar was a rare chance to witness a major geological event up close. This wasn't just another volcanic eruption, it was the Earth changing right before their eyes. Over 38 miles of land split apart, revealing glowing molten rock and intense heat. It was like watching a process that normally takes millions of years happen in an instant. Using satellites and seismic tools, scientists tracked the event. The Somali and Nubian tectonic plates were pulling apart, creating new pathways for magma to rise. This was not just a natural disaster, it was a glimpse into how the Earth's surface evolves over time. Studying geology here is like watching the Earth's forces in action. The East African Rift isn't just a crack in the ground, it's a natural laboratory where scientists can see how the planet is constantly changing. The same forces that once split apart supercontinents like Pangaea millions of years ago are still at work today. For those witnessing this, it felt like the Earth was revealing its history, showing how new oceans form and continents drift apart. Deep underground, magma rises like an invisible sculptor, slowly but powerfully pushing the land apart. But this isn't just about rocks and lava, it's about understanding the story of our planet. As we watch these changes in the Afar region, we gain valuable insight into Earth's geological processes. Even land that seems stable can shift suddenly. The eruption at Abajo in 2005 was just the beginning of a long transformation. The rift continues to expand, changing East Africa's geography and challenging what we know about Earth's tectonic systems. The East African Rift is more than a stunning natural wonder. It's proof that we still have much to learn about our planet. It's a reminder that the land beneath our feet is always shifting, and Earth's history is still being written beneath the rugged landscapes of East Africa. The Earth is changing in ways that most of us won't fully understand for a long time. One major example is the East African Rift, a massive geological feature stretching over 3,000 kilometers. It's not just a crack in the Earth's crust, it's an active process of creation, destruction, and rebirth. Right now, East Africa is slowly splitting apart. One day, this process will create a new ocean, separating the region into two land masses. This transformation is driven by two huge tectonic plates, the Somali plate, which is moving southeast, and the Nubian plate, which is drifting northwest. As they move away from each other, magma from deep inside the Earth rises to fill the gap, putting pressure on the crust and causing it to crack and stretch. Over time, this will create a wider rift, breaking the land apart even more. What makes this event so incredible is that it's happening right now, within our lifetimes. Most tectonic changes take millions of years to show effects, but the East African Rift is shifting in real time. Earthquakes shake the region, new cracks appear in the ground, and volcanic activity continues, clear signs of the powerful forces beneath the Earth's surface. While it may take tens of millions of years for this process to be complete, we can already see the early signs of a new future forming. Changes are already happening in the Afar Depression, where the rift is slowly sinking below sea level. Satellite images show that the rift is expanding by just a few millimeters each year. However, these small shifts are the beginning of a massive geological event that will permanently change Africa's map. A new ocean will eventually form, drastically changing Africa's geography. New coastlines will appear where none exist today, and fresh marine ecosystems will develop, creating new opportunities for biodiversity in ways we can't yet predict. However, this transformation will come with challenges. Communities living near the rift's fertile valleys and lakes may be displaced as water gradually moves inland. Entire ways of life may need to adapt or risk disappearing. The social and economic impact of this large-scale change will be significant. As volcanic activity in the region increases, the risks to nearby populations will grow. Eruptions could damage infrastructure, disrupt local economies, and force evacuations. Additionally, these geological changes could impact local weather, altering rainfall and wind patterns, which may have long-term effects on agriculture and water resources. Despite these challenges, the East African Rift is a powerful reminder of the Earth's ever-changing nature. It shows that our planet is not static, it is constantly shifting, breaking down, and rebuilding itself. The rift is more than just a geological feature, it is a symbol of Earth's ongoing transformation. The world is always changing, and the forces shaping it never stop. This ongoing transformation reminds us of the Bible's story of creation, destruction, and renewal. In the Bible, the earth is not a still or unchanging place. It is alive and responds to God's will. The slow but unstoppable splitting of the African continent, known as the East African Rift, is a clear example of this continuous change. In Genesis 1 verse 1, the Bible says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." This reminds us that God is always shaping the world. The earth beneath us is not fixed, it moves, shifts, and evolves. The East African Rift is proof that God's creation is always developing and renewing. The Bible speaks of God's power to create, destroy, and rebuild. This connects with the dramatic changes happening in East Africa. In Isaiah 65 verse 17, God promises, "See, I will create new heavens and a new earth. The former things will not be remembered, nor will they come to mind." Just like that promise, the land in East Africa is breaking apart, but at the same time, something new is forming. One day, this transformation will lead to the birth of a new ocean and a completely different landscape. The rift is not just about destruction, it is also about creation. Magma from deep inside the earth rises to fill the cracks, symbolizing how God's plan often includes both breaking and rebuilding. Just as God spoke life into the world at the beginning, the forces at work in the rift are creating new geographical features that will shape the future of the continent. This is a powerful reminder of God's ongoing work in His creation. Earthquakes remind us that God controls the natural world and the powerful forces within it. In the Bible, earthquakes are often linked to God's power. For example, in Matthew 27 verses 51 to 54, when Jesus died, the earth shook, rocks split, and the temple curtain tore from top to bottom. This dramatic event showed a major shift in both the spiritual and physical world. The earthquake was not just a natural event, but a sign of God's intervention. Similarly, the frequent earthquakes in the East African Rift are reminders of how the earth responds to deep, unseen forces. While these quakes are not direct acts of God, they reflect the biblical idea that nature reacts to His will. The earth is like a living body, constantly shifting and changing. Volcanic eruptions are also powerful symbols in the Bible, representing both destruction and purification. The East African Rift has some of the most active volcanoes in the world, such as Ethiopia's Erta Ale and Tanzania's Ol Doinyo Langai. In 1 Corinthians 3 verses 13 to 15, Paul describes fire as a test that reveals the true quality of a person's work. In the same way, volcanic eruptions reshape the land, creating new rock layers, just as fire is used in the Bible as a tool for purification. The eruptions are a visible reminder of the Earth's fiery core, much like how the Bible speaks of fire as a force of transformation. God's powerful presence is both refining and renewing His creation. As the East African Rift continues to widen, seawater from the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean will eventually flood the region, forming a new ocean between the separating landmasses. This vision of a new ocean is similar to biblical themes of new creation. In Revelation 21 verse 1, the Bible speaks of a new heaven and a new earth, where there will be no more sea. While the rift's transformation will create an ocean instead of removing one, the symbolism is still powerful. This change represents a new beginning, much like God's promise of a new world. This transformation reminds us that God is always shaping His creation, both physically and spiritually. Even through destructive processes like earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, He is bringing about a new era. But perhaps the most meaningful connection to the Bible is in humanity's role as stewards of the earth. In Genesis 2 verse 15, God placed humans in the Garden of Eden to take care of it. Similarly, the changes in the East African Rift remind us that we are not just passive residents of the earth, we have a responsibility to care for it. As the land shifts, the people living in the region must learn to adapt and live in harmony with these natural forces. Despite nature's constant changes, we must recognize our deep connection to it and our duty to protect the balance between human life and the environment. The East African Rift is not just a geological event, it is a visible and powerful demonstration of biblical truths. The forces of tectonic movement, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions reflect God's ongoing work in the world, from creation to destruction, from fire to water, and from land to ocean. As the rift reshapes East Africa, it serves as a reminder that God is always at work, both in the dramatic events of history and in the quiet changes of everyday life. The rift is not just a moment in Earth's history, it is a story still unfolding. Every tremor and eruption points to a greater divine purpose at work beneath the surface.